She meets undercover agent Woody.
Lawn quality. Shiny, gorgeous hair color is simply captivating. And now you can get exquisite, easy-to-use salon-quality color at home. Madison Reed is formulated in Italy, starting with all the things healthy hair loves, not the usual harsh ingredients. Only online. Satisfaction guaranteed. Madison Reed. Visit our website right now.
Morning Express with Robin Meade. Weekdays at 6 on HLN.
She meets undercover agent Woody Jean because she wants to kill her husband, Mike DiPolito.
When it's done, you know, you have to have an option to change your mind.
No, there's no, like, I'm determined already. I'm positive, like, 5,000% sure. I'm a lot tougher than what I look. I know you see me and you're like, oh, what a cute little girl, whatever. You know, but I'm not.
You're extremely beautiful.
Thank you.
In 2011, that woman, Dalia DiPolito, was convicted of hiring a hitman to kill her husband. Police have been tipped off to her plan. They staged a crime scene at her house, telling her that the husband had been killed. Take a look at this.
Listen, we had a report of a disturbance at your house, and there were shots fired. Is your husband Michael? Okay, I'm sorry to tell you, man. He's been killed. He's been killed, man. I'm sorry. Listen, try to calm down. Right now, we need to get you. We need to get you to the police station. I can't let you go, man. We have to do our job. We want to find his store.
Wow, she would have been good on a reality show. 7 years later, now, facing a new trial, Dalia says she did not plan her husband's murder. She claims all part of an act, part of a plan to become famous online with her husband. This was all planned out with her husband and their friend. All together, they just figured this out. Take a look.
That was part of the script, too?
Yes.
And Muhammad told you to say that I'm a lot tougher than I look?
I had to go in that meeting with Woody Jean, and as though, you know, that's what I wanted to have done.
That's all what Muhammad told you to say, right?
Yes, he told me to say that.
Yeah, 5,000% sure, ready to go.
I needed to project confidence, and yeah, that's what he told me. I needed to make it look believable.
Back with Rolanda Jane. Joining us now, Darren Kavanoki, attorney, host of Deadly Sins on Discovery ID. Brian Claypool. Brian is the attorney for Dalia DiPolito, and I've still got Tiffany. Now Tiffany Davis Henry, our friend we haven't had for a little while, psychotherapist. Tiffany, so great to see you. All right, now she says she's not just a cute little girl. She's got to project confidence. And I know we got Brian here, but anybody have trouble believing? Ray Jane, what do you say? Brian will give you a chance.
She went to the Jody Area School of Acting. I'm not going to say that she went to the Jody Area School of Acting, but if she had, I think she did well.
You've just said it. He would never say anything like that.
If she was that good of an actor, she needs to be out here in those audition rooms with me out here in Hollywood. And let me say, because listen, that's ridiculous.
Now, Brian, you understand that everyone watching this show has got to have the same reaction, which is, oh, come on now. How do you defend a lady like this? She's seen on video planning a murder, executing it, being convicted of it. Is overturned because the jury was tainted or something, or the jury selection process, which, okay, that's the process. How do you get out of this now?
Drew, this is bigger than Dalia DiPolito. This case is about safeguarding all of our constitutional rights. Whether you like her or not, you know, whether she's attractive, fat, skinny, she's entitled to constitutional protection. And what I'm trying to bring attention to in this case is this police department entrapped her. They put pieces of cheese in front of her to draw her in to do these videos.
To be a murder.
Listen, they violated just about every policy and procedure within that police department to get her to do those videotapes.
So this is...
Go ahead, but who got her to poison his tea from Starbucks before all of this happened?
Yeah, well, that's fiction, too. There's no evidence of that, and there's been no criminal investigation of that. That's the problem with this case. Everybody looked at this case, looked at those videos, and they went right to the conclusion. What I'm trying to do now is tell people about chapters 1 through 10 and how she was entrapped.
Brian, did OJ do it? And Jane, he's got some, Brian, I'm a little sympathetic in the fact that they were filming episodes of Cops around her at the time in which they set up that alleged murder scene. That's pretty outrageous stuff, right?
Well, Cops is a show, and they shoot police. I don't think there's anything outrageous about that in and of itself. And I think this is, I love you, and I love Iglarsh.
Your nose is
but
wrong.
it is the silliest defense since the Twinkie defense, really. I mean, they were
Kavanaughy's going to defend Brian.
Without it, what I think this really turns on, and what can't be ignored, is that the focus has to be on whether what law enforcement did is objectively reasonable. Take her out of the equation for a second.
You both sound like such double talk to me. But you're supposed to do that, right? You're doing your job as
No, it's not double talk. It's really about having integrity of the system, and what is it that we are allowing police officers to do.
Let me tell you something. The cops may very well have saved this man's life. She wanted to kill her husband, and thank God her friends went to the cops and they set up this phony scenario.
Okay, Brian, what do you say?
This is a mockery of the criminal justice system, Jane. This was never a credible criminal investigation. This was a casting call by this police department to make a sensational episode of Cops, and they broke all the rules to make sure Dahlia would be their lead actress on this episode.
Now, speaking of her being a lead actress, here she is crying for you all on the stand yesterday. Take a look.
Mr. Williams didn't play the rest of that jailhouse call, did he?
No, he didn't.
Were you afraid during this undercover investigation?
Yes, I was afraid.
I have no further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Now, Tiffany, you're a psychotherapist, and it's hard to make much of her crying on the stand after you've seen her pretend crying outside of her house after we saw her husband allegedly shot. But if you were treating this woman, wouldn't you feel like you were treating Tony Soprano?
I would. I definitely would feel a little Dr. Melfi-ish. I felt as though, you know, the most challenging thing for me was really that, you know, in this scenario, which she says is made up and it was scripted, nobody has ever seen the script. She actually came forth with real cash money during the transaction, and nobody else is corroborating her story. If she was in psychotherapy, I would want some collateral. I would want someone else to say, yes,
and
this
Tiffany,
is true.
What would you be, if you're not
seeing
seeing the collateral evidence, what would you suspect you're dealing with here?
I would say the whole cluster B, access to some personality disorders for sure, a little borderline, a little histrionic, a little narcissistic, a little this and a little that.
No, well, Derek, we used to describe, I mean, Kavanaughy, we used to describe him.
We used to describe him that way
we say it with peace and love, and we used to say it about him when he was when he was a using addict. But that's another story for another time, right?
That's the rest of the story.
But you do, Tiffany, bring up a number of terminologies that we were using on a regular basis when we described Miss Jodi Arias.
Absolutely, and it's eerily similar, isn't it, Drew?
Eerily similar. We'll keep this conversation going.
Your husband is well and alive.
Thank God.
Oh, yeah, thank God.
Can I see him?
No, he doesn't want to see you.
I so wanted to see him.
He doesn't want to see you.
Please.
You better quit your playing. Listen to me.
Oh, my God.
I want you to quit your acting and get this over with.
I'm not.
Yes, you are.
I'm not.
Okay. You know what? You need a real good attorney. You need a real good attorney, because we're going to show him the film where you say you're 5,000% sure you want him dead.
And she did get some good attorneys. She got convicted 5 years ago, Dahlia DiPolito, of hiring a hitman to kill her husband. The conviction overturned due to improper jury selection. And this is now the first we're hearing from her as she's testifying in a pretrial hearing. We're back with Rolanda, Jane, Darren, Brian, and Tiffany. Listen to the husband, the almost victim, Michael, describing the relationship the two of them had. Take a look.
I thought we had a good marriage. We had some issues, you know, but, you know, I was in love with my wife, I married her, and I wanted a future with her. So, you know, I thought we were doing well.
And now, this is what he thinks of her. Watch.
This girl doesn't feel sorry for anything. She still doesn't think she did anything. And believe me, I don't want to get up here and be nasty, but the reality is I sit and listen to this. Even today, we're talking about a retrial? Retrial for what? I mean, what is it we're doing? Who didn't understand what happened here? they still don't want to admit anything happened. Nothing bad happened. It's all good. Let's just all go home and it's fine. I'm not okay.
Brian, he's not okay, but you say the police chief was planning a big viewing party, and these are some of the pieces of evidence that suggest this whole situation was tainted.
Drew, the hallmark of a criminal investigation, and you all have to agree with this, is preserving the integrity of the investigation. There was zero integrity in this investigation. There were over 500 phone calls made by the informant to Dahlia DiPolito. Guess what? None of those phone calls were recorded. We don't know what was said. My client says she was backing out of this. She was being threatened to go forward with this. Well, we don't have that information because the police department cherry-picked this investigation.
I'm sorry, but nobody's going to make me...
Rolanda.
Wait a minute.
Well,
no, I don't care how much cherry-picking is going on. You're not going to get me to admit I'm going to go murder somebody, particularly my husband.
Let me look at an interview from ABC's 2020 where she talks about how she's doing now.
Your every move is monitored.
She's under house arrest, accused of solicitation to commit murder, tethered to an ankle bracelet.
That's what it looks like, and it doesn't come off at all.
She says she's on medication for what is unsurprising, depression and anxiety, and that faith is what gets her through each day.
I feel like I'm, casting away the negativity and just really bringing in light.
I don't, to be depressed and angry, she should be elated and joyful that she's not in prison, it seems to me. I want to ask Tiffany a question, Darren, which is that Tiffany, she says she's in intensive psychotherapy also, and that she's on meds for depression, anxiety, whatever. Don't we need to really know a lot more about her previous history if any of us are really going to understand who this woman is?
Oh, absolutely. I think psychological records should be uncovered, and in some ways I think should probably be admissible to see if there is any pattern of this type of behavior before. It doesn't surprise me that she would be stressed and anxious and depressed, but I'm like you, Drew. The first thing I thought is, you know what? You should be thanking your lucky stars that you're not behind a jail cell while you await a new trial. She's lucky.
I'm confused, and maybe the defense attorney can explain this to me. She claims this was, it wasn't a real hit or a desire to hit. It was a TV show. We were trying to do a reality TV show, except she could have shot that without involving the police, and she didn't even know the police were secretly videotaping.
Well, I think she's saying
it wasn't her idea to go to the police. It was the informant's idea to go to the police. Then when he went to the police, it got out of hand. She's like, look, I don't want the police involved, and by then, he was having to threaten her because the police department was threatening to prosecute him unless they got her on tape.
Tiffany, what do you say?
Here's the thing. I watch a lot of reality TV, probably more than I should admit.
I'm sorry for that. Yeah, way more than you should. Not admit more than you should.
I should. But I've never, ever, ever seen a reality TV show that followed someone who was planning to murder someone.
Darren.
Like that usually...
If we could
Darren,
shift the focus
you're going nuts, Darren.
From how she's doing in the court of public opinion to how the police went along with the integrity of what they're supposed to be doing in a court of law. And I'm just thinking, when we're talking about integrity, I'm thinking back to a case we discussed recently where
this reminds me of that.
Well, in a sense, the headline about Brendan Dassey, the nephew who's confessing, and then when you see the confession, it's not really that.
No, that's right. You're right.
And my wondering about this is, as we look at the police behavior, at the behavior of government officials, we require a certain level of integrity in what they do, objective, reasonable.
And Brian, I think that's the case you're making, but Brian, I'm going to give you an assignment if you haven't done this already. Go home and watch Making a Murderer, because you'll find lots of good ideas there for your defense.
And I promise I won't have a viewing party watching the Cops episode of Dahlia DiPolito.
All right, fair enough.
But the husband still feels that he was about to...
yeah, that husband. By the way, he was a con man. He had...
he's a convicted felon.
He's a convicted felon. Yes. But was she a prostitute or
she
something?
Was not.
She was an escort.
Again.
Oh, escort. Way off.
Way off.
Way off.
An escort.
Well...